Hey everyone, today I want to show you how we measure and build a simple but sturdy gate for our outdoor garden fence. Well, as some of you may know, we did quite an expansion on the garden this year, almost probably doubling it in size. And so while we do have the one gate right in the front, I wanted to put a second gate in the back so I can get to the compost piles, the mulch and the leaves back there the leaf mulch pile a lot easier. So anyways, before we get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the old gate that we've got that's been on there for about 2 or 3 years, and because we're going to be following the same construction concepts with that one as we did with the new one. So here's our original gate. It's been here now about 3 years. It's held up real well. A couple of issues. One of them is my fault. First and foremost, all I'm going to tell you is pre-drill everything beforehand, and don't just think you can screw things in, because right here where the latch is, where it gets a lot of abuse, I just screwed those 2 screws in, and as you can see, I got some cracking going on. So next time on this new one, I'm definitely pre-drilling it. So, but main thing that's going to keep this gate from sagging is simply just putting in that cross brace. And that cross brace, we want to make sure we screw it in up there near the top rail, and then transfer that load all the way down to the side against where that one hinge is. That way you're not going to be dealing with having to lift the gate in order to open and close it. Now this gate, like I said, it's 2 to 3 years old, and it gets opened and closed numerous times every day. So it's held up real well. The other thing we do is, as you see maybe down there at the bottom, is I put a board into the ground just to level it across there, and then we hold that gate up about 3/4 of an inch there. So we'll take that into account when we do our measurements. And then usually, or I do, is I'll take about 1 inch off of it to allow for the gaps here on the sides and over here, because as you may or may not notice, these 4x4 posts over time have a tendency to twist and move around. So that 1 inch gap overall that I leave will end up giving us plenty of play. Now, you can probably get away with maybe 1/2 inch to 3/4, because as you can see with the swing, there's still plenty of room with that gap that I've got there. But for me, I kind of like the 1 inch number. It does what we need it to do. So anyways, let's go get ready to start building. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get measurements of the frame that we're going to be dealing with here, and then from there we'll do all the correct new measurements for how to make the gate fit in here. So anyways, we want to get measurements there at the top from post to post, at the bottom from post to post, and then for our height we're going to end up bringing that right up to where you see that one top 2x4 on the fence itself. So we'll get a height measurement there, and like I said, we'll take the measurements at both the tops and the bottom just to make sure that we either got the same measurement, or hopefully, or if we got to go with the smaller of the 2 measurements, just to make sure we get this gate to fit properly. Another thing just to remember, we're going to be hinging this on this post over here on the corner, and you want to make sure that when you're going to be putting a gate against a fence post, to really make sure that that post is secured in there, whether you're using your concrete or what it is, but you really want to make sure you have a solid post, because if that post starts moving all around, the gate's going to give you a lot of trouble. Just one more thing to make sure you take into consideration is what your ground is like. As you can see right here, the hills that we have, obviously this gate, I wanted it anyways to be swinging out, but with this ground going up so high, there would be no way that, without really making a useless gate, that I could have that gate swing in. It'd just end up hitting the ground like crazy. So just make sure you take into consideration which way the ground is sloping, and make sure you got flat areas, so when it does swing open, you're not gonna bottom out with your gate when you open it only halfway. This is if you're looking from the outside of the garden in, and so here's where the 2x4s were, and then there's one post and there's the other post. And then we took our numbers from the top and the bottom going across. I had 40 3/4 at the very top up there, and I had 40 1/2 down here at the very bottom. Now our measurement of 51
is from that bottom board that I told you we have down below all the way up to where we want the top of the fence gate to be up there, to make it even with that 2x4. So then in order to take these numbers and transcribe it to what you want your gate to look like, this is what we get. What we're going to do is we're going to take a total of 1 inch off of our width from our fence, and it's 3/4 on one side, 1 inch on another. So we ended up with I'm going with 39 3/4 for a total width. All right. Then for our height, what we have here is we're going to allow for a 3/4 inch gap at the bottom. And so if you do that, your new total height becomes 50 1/4 inches. And then you need to subtract from that the 2x4s at both the top and the bottom, which at 1.5 inches a piece, or 3 inches, gives me a height number that I have to cut of 47 1/4. Once we get that frame done, then I'll show you a way that we cut this cross member that gives us the structural support we need.
Using these 10 by 2.5 exterior screws that are made by Deck Plus. Nice thing about these, they got a star driver head on them, so there's a lot less chance of them stripping out, and just holds up better in my opinion than the standard Phillips heads exterior screws. They cost a little bit more, but you know, these, I've just had a lot of luck with them, using them both for my deck projects and just about anything we have with the gardens. So you may want to get 3-inch screws, but for me, these 2.5 seem to work just fine. The gate inside into the garage here, because I'm going to need a flat surface to work with, because the objective now is to try to work on getting that cross piece in. So I'm going to want to make sure that I get this gate squared up, and once it's square, I'll show you a quick trick so you don't have to think too much about what the angles are that you need to make for those cross braces. But pretty much there's, you know, just 2 screws on each end. That's all you really got to do. So anyways, let me go and get set up here, and I'll show you how we get that cross brace in. Alright, so we ended up squaring up the frame as best as we could. All we did, we used a frame and square, and then what I do is I'll grab 2 scrap blocks. And after I put the frame and square on it and get it set to how I want, I'll then just screw in temporary blocks in opposite corners. That'll just help it stay as square as possible while we work on that cross piece. Now we're going to flip this over, and I'm going to show you how we get that cross beam on. Alright, so what we did is we just took another 2x4, we put this gate right over the top of it, but we set the 2x4 to how we're going to want it for when we want that cross bracing in. So we've got it up there, and we got it there. So all I'm going to do now is just come in here with a pencil, make a mark there, make another mark down here, and then go and cut it on the chop saw. Alright, well, there's all the framework that needs to get done. As you saw with the cross piece, all we did, just like with the other ends, it's just got a couple of screws on the side going on in. Did the same thing up here at the top. So just more of those 2.5-inch screws. So next thing is I'm going to put a coat of stain sealer on this, of which I've had this wood outside now for about 6 weeks to a couple months, so it's good to get a sealer on it. If you just bought your wood at the store, recently, you may want to wait those 30 to 90 days before you put a sealer coat on it. So let's get the sealer coat on, and then after that we'll see about putting the fencing on and the hardware. Well, we've given the stain here a chance to set up and cure on this gate, so now we're ready to install this rolled wire fencing onto it. Pretty much all we're going to need to cut the wire fencing down is just a set of those nips, and then to attach it we're just going to nail them in with both 1.25 and 3/4 inch fence nails. So shouldn't take us too long here. And we're going to also, just for FYI, we're attaching this to the back part of our gate where we've got that cross member flush with the rest of the frame, so it'll be a better hold for the fence. All right, let's get going. Okay, so we finished nailing the fence wire up to the frame here on the gate, and as you can see, we put those nails in about every 6 inches to 8 inches or so around the exterior of the frame, and then there in the middle we put them about one every, once again 8 inches to maybe even a foot apart, just to help hold it in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to end up flipping this fence over, and I'm going to start mounting the hardware right on now first to the front side, and that'll make things easier for when we go outside and we can just mount it to the post. This hardware was, I think we picked it up at Lowe's for about $25. Alright, so we've got the door flipped over, or the gate flipped over here, and we're going to just get ready to install the hinges. Now, all we're going to do with these hinges, we're just going to mount them here on our bottom rail and our top rail. And then we'll go outside from there and we'll attach them to the posts. Just FYI, these hinges are universal to be able to open from either side, so make sure you got your pin, which can come right out and you can flip it over to one side or the other, but make sure you got your pin facing up toward the top of your gate, or else, well, eventually it's just going to fall out. So, all right, let's get these on, pre-drill the holes, and go from there. Okay, well, we've temporarily gotten the gate in place and into where we want it to be. Like I said, to make our life easier, I just put a couple of shims in. There's a 3/4 inch shim board down on the bottom there. And then while we're screwing it into the post, I just put a couple of shims on both the left side and the right side to hold it in place. So let's now just get this attached to the post, and we just got the gate hardware and we should be good to go. Alright, well, all the hardware is on and should be in good shape now. Got the gaps. Like I said, I allowed for 1 inch. You can go with definitely with 3/4 of an inch for a gap, and that still would allow you plenty. Well, that'll do it on this garden fence gate. If you got any questions, please just leave them in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this or of our raised garden bed adventure over the course of this winter and next season, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our channel. Till the next project, take care. Thank you for watching.